profile. Sadly, my internet connection today is really dodgy, so if you do lose me, that's why. I also wanted to do this on my MacBook, but for some reason it's just not having it, so I need to now try and remember the questions. So the first question that I got asked was about the level of debt that you incur as a doctor in the UK. So if I had been, I think, a few years older, the answer to this would be very little. The way debt is structured in the UK, there are different plans. So when I did my first degree, I was on plan 1, so it was only 1,000 a year. 1,000. It was 3,000 a year. But by the time I'd gone to do medicine, it was at 5,000 or 6,000 a year, I think. So I have debt from 2 degrees, not 1. And then your debt is always kind of you've got more debt if you are taking the kind of live-in loans as well as the tuition fee loans. So I think I've got about £50,000 worth of debt, to be honest. And if I thought about it, I would be really, really depressed. But the way my husband always says to me about it, he always just says, think of it as a graduate tax. And so I try not, it's like £250, whatever goes out of my bank account every month. I just try not to think about it. So the second question I got was how I manage everything. I feel like I have got a lot of balls in the air at the moment. So I've now got 3 children, and I have obviously medicine, and I'm doing, I think, it's supposed to be less than 34 hours a week, but I swear to God it's not. And it's not just the time that you spend in the hospital, it's all the other crap that they expect you to do in your own time. So I'm having to do a teaching. I'm having to provide teaching for my department. I don't get time to go and do that. I have to do that in my own time. So I need to put together a presentation. I've got an audit to do. Again, that's going to have to be done in my own time. And for my application for plastics, I need to find time to put together at least one paper that's going to be good enough to get published. So in terms of balancing everything, it's never just about the time that you are rotated to be in the hospital. It's all of the other stuff that you don't realise that you're taking on. So the audits, the teaching, the presentations, all of this stuff that they kind of just expect you to do and that you don't get time for. And in some ways I'm really lucky because I've already done my exams. So some people will be having to manage either Part A or Part B of MRCS as well. And that's going to be current across all of the specialities at my level, because surgery is the only specialty, I think, that has an exit exam, which means before you leave being a registrar to be a consultant. But all of the specialties have entrance exams, which is what we're talking about when we talk about MRCP, MRCS. The ACAT, I think, is the GP one. So everyone alongside their work is managing in their own time, studying for these really difficult, really expensive exams. So my MRCS, honestly, it's like an expensive hobby, medicine. Someone asked me how much I'd spend about that, and it's like £1,000 for Part B, and it's hundreds of pounds for Part A as well. And I sat Part A 3 times, so that's £900, not including the money that I spent on kind of prep materials. So medicine is a bit of an expensive hobby, and I think that's because it's quite elitist. It has been an elitist career, so they sort of expect you to be able to spend thousands of pounds on an exam. So I think Part B ended up costing me about £1,300 with exams and things like that. So you just don't want to fail them. So in terms of managing a workload, it's about kind of managing all of these extra expectations that they don't really tell you about in medical school before you go to med school, that you're going to have to manage. I can't remember what my next question was. I was going to do this on my MacBook, but for some reason it's just not working. So I wrote them all down as an iMessage, and I can't remember what they are. So one thing that people always want to know is, what is my day-to-day life like in terms of being at work? So it very much depends whether you are on call or whether you're not on call. So if you're on call, depending on what specialty you're in, you are usually kind of managing a phone, so taking referrals for your specialty from GP, from A&E, things like that. that is the thing that people find most stressful, I think, is managing that phone. And I had to do that when I was in neurology, and you just kind of get calls from all kind of places, and it can be really stressful. If I'm not on call, that's usually just a shorter day. So at the moment for me, that would be either 7:30 or 7:45 until 5ish. And I'd usually be in theatre or clinic, and that is pretty awesome. Who is in the artwork behind me? So this guy, he's absolutely massive. I'm not particularly religious, but I just loved him. All of my friends that come over think he's really creepy. He's actually by an artist called Woolrich, who is held by the Vatican and the White House. And I managed to get him really, really cheap. So I picked him up, and I love him. But yeah, he scares everyone that comes over. And people say I wouldn't like to be alone in the dark with him. But I have a skeleton also in my house. So it's not a real skeleton, it's a medical school skeleton. So that would be generally what my day-to-day looks like. So either on call or kind of doing clinics or theatre. Who am I and where am I from? What do I do in life? My name is Lauren-Jane. I'm the surgical doctor. So I am for those of you who aren't familiar with my channel, I am a doctor who's training to be a surgeon. I'm doing plastics at the moment. If I could change something about history, what would it be? Oh gosh, so much. There's so much suffering in the world, isn't like what's going on in Gaza and Palestine at the moment is absolutely horrendous. And if I could change one thing at the moment, it would be that. One of the other things people always want to know is what is plastic surgery. So people think that's what I'm doing at the moment. So people think that plastics is kind of boobs and Botox. It's really not. So plastic surgeons fix clefts, any area on the body. So if someone has a really bad road traffic accident and there's part of the body that can't be closed, so plastics would get involved in that. They do a lot of hand trauma, so fixing the hand. Oh, hello from St. Cloud, Minnesota. This guy's from Minnesota. This is your guy. So the guy that painted this, he lived and died in Minnesota. His name's Woolrich. So this is your guy. But yeah, so plastic surgery is sarcoma. It is fixing hand trauma. Obviously there's Botox, but anywhere there's a wound that won't heal, that's what plastics get involved in. In terms of kind of aesthetics, obviously there's an aesthetics component, but yes, of course you can ask me anything. I suppose as long as it's, appropriate. Yeah, so if anyone's had major surgery, especially if a wound didn't heal, that might be something that plastics get involved with. So plastics is not just what you think it is when you think of the word plastic surgery. And actually the word plastic surgery predates what you think of as, kind of like plastic. It means to mold. And there's a really interesting history around plastic surgery because traditionally in war, the injuries that you would get would be a gunshot wound, or it would be a kind of a sword. And then in World War I, the military tech exploded, and what you had was patients being, blown up and things like that, and they had a lot of facial injuries. And all of a sudden, the surgeons that were on the battlefield had no way to deal with these new injuries that were being caused by gas and flamethrowers and things like that. And so that was where the field of plastic surgery really kind of came from, really, was these initial surgeons all over the world. Actually, there's lots of different ones who were trying to deal with these new insults that were happening to all different kinds of soldiers in the First World War. So skin grafting is plastic surgery. Yeah, so we do skin grafting. There's lots of reasons why we do skin grafting, but burns. So if you have a really superficial burn, it should just heal, a bit like sunburn. If you have a really deep burn, it might be that needs a skin graft to help it heal. And so skin grafts are something that plastic surgery would do. So plastics it's not just kind of Botox and doing breast implants, or, plastic surgeons do that as cosmesis. But anyone who's got kind of breast cancer and things like that, they may also see a plastic surgeon because we'll do the reconstructions there. So if anyone If anyone's got any more questions, I'll answer them. If not, I shall sign off until next time. Then I will try and do another live as soon as I can, and I shall write my questions down rather than relying on the iMessenger, which I can't access. So I don't think anyone's got any more questions, so I will say thank you for watching, and hope to see you all soon.